Hello.
Hello.
It says I'm live. I'm not
Yes,
sure though.
we have to wait for the little chat or the little
Yeah,
gray numbers and see if we're on the tubes.
yeah. I think we are. I think we're popping up. Here we go. We're popping up. See us on
All
chat.
right.
So Daniel, how are you today?
I am hot, but not as hot as I was last night. I was complaining about the heat last night because I had my air conditioner on 78. I couldn't take it no more. It's on 75, so it's been running nonstop. I just
God,
couldn't
yeah,
take the
that's
heat no more.
yeah. You
It's
have to at some point succumb to the electric bill.
oh well. I'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah, for sure. Hey Tracy, thanks for popping in.
Hello.
Um, it's been hot here. We're just talking about the weather, Tracy, until
We always start
we get
all
some.
all our conversations off with the weather.
Yep. Even when we talk to each other, we're always talking about the we're
I know.
complaining about it. We're like, oh, it's raining. Oh, it's too hot. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's too hot.
Yeah, there's like that week in spring and that week in fall that I'm okay. But I'm still
Hey,
beating you.
Sheila, LaDonna, hello. Thanks for
Hello.
popping in. Popping in. I'm glued to the hearing right now.
Oh,
Oh, is there hearing?
the you taking over the Capitol hearing.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there's probably
I'm
news
not.
here, but I haven't read the news today. I try to avoid it.
I yeah, I'm not watching any of that because
Yeah.
there's enough
Yeah.
stuff going on. I don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been hot here, you guys. It's been really hot. Hey, Kim. Oh, she's so hot here. Yes, Kim. I mean, I'm probably not as hot as you are there in temperature outside, but for England, it's hot.
Yeah,
And we
your
don't have air
hotness
conditioning.
your hotness is relative.
Uh,
Like right now,
I,
it's 1 o'clock and it's 90 degrees here,
ooh, yeah, I think it
and that's
was.
not counting the humidity, how what it feels
Mm,
like. But it's a lot
yeah,
hotter
it
than
feels
this
like.
elsewhere. So
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like relative to where you live. You can't be like, well, it's hot here, but it's to us, hot today was like 75. I know y'all are just about to laugh when I say that, but tomorrow's supposed to be 86. But we don't have air conditioning in our
I
homes.
know
Our homes don't usually have air conditioning. So, yeah. So
I
that's
would
the
be
issue. At
I
night, it's
would be
bad.
very angry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 98 at 1 p.m. where Tracy's at. God, Tracy, where you at? That's a lot.
Tracy's
It was,
in Illinois too. Maybe my little
oh,
desktop thing is off.
maybe it got so hot it stopped working.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's not right. I'm gonna go with Tracy's
All right.
because it feels like
Yeah,
98.
let's go with Tracy. I'll go with Tracy. Tracy's right. Um, so a college World Series starts tonight, Omaha. So that means extreme heat. LOL. Okay.
Yeah, we're supposed
Every
to.
time there's a
Sorry, I'm still on the weather. So next week I was looking at the forward weather, and we're supposed to get 101 degrees Tuesday.
really, I mean, is that unusual for you guys?
No, it does
Oh,
this.
okay.
It'll get hot. It can get pretty hot.
This
I
early
did hear
though?
now to make everybody feel really good about this summer. I did hear that this pattern is setting itself up to be like 2012 when it stayed 100 degrees for 3 months.
Oh God.
So
Everybody just leaves the chat now.
just
Everybody just
just
goes.
letting you
I'm just
know, I
like,
heard
bye.
that and I'm like, yay! Because I still remember 2012. It would not cool
Uh,
down for that,
I
and
know.
it stayed in the hundreds for a couple months.
That's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're actually not here to talk about the weather, although we just want to have a small talk. A small talk before we get started.
Little live chat
Get
on
that done.
weather.
Yeah, live chat on. There's a live weather report from Illinois and the UK. So today, in Ohio, it's not even in Ohio with humidity feels like 101. Eek, it's sticky. I have to say I don't miss it. I don't. Not really. I miss little
That's the
Debbie's. I don't miss the heat.
I'm looking forward to 60s in the summer when I move to England, and healthcare.
And then complain about it.
Those are the two things I'm looking forward to, and not being afraid of being murdered for who I am.
Being fabulous. Not afraid to be fabulous.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't miss the humidity. I don't. I haven't been in so long that I would probably just faint when I. So that's why I always go at Christmas.
That's the bad part. Hot heat is one thing. Humid heat is a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it sticks to you. You know you're hot. But
all right, moving on from the weather. What are we talking about
moving
today?
on from the weather, y'all. Moving on from the weather. Okay. So today on my channel, I'm going to talk about something that is it's not I don't want to say it's dark, but it's a situation I think I should talk about because I've gone back and forth whether or not I was going to do this at all. You asked Dan, I was like, should I not, should I? So I decided to do this because I think it's important people know and people are aware of. So what today we're going to talk about is missing and murdered Indigenous women, which I will refer to as MMIW for all of this chat, just because I don't think I should be throwing around murder on YouTube. I don't know if they like it, but and I don't want it to. And I understand if this is like a hard topic for people, or if it's uncomfortable for you. I understand. Like, I know there it's the middle of the day. Here it is 7 p.m. past the watershed. But here's what I want to talk about. And I'm not an Indigenous woman. I'm not. But should I be talking about it? Yeah, I think a lot of people should be talking about it. I think the problem is no one is talking about it at all. I remember having a conversation with Daniel, and he was like, I didn't even realize, because it's not in the news. It's not all over social media. It's not the things people talk about. And it's just, it's a very sad situation when these Indigenous women in both in the U.S. and Canada go missing, and it feels like no one's making a big deal about it. And to me, that's a serious issue, and it's not something people want to talk about, but it's something that should be talked about and should be shouted from the rooftops. And people should know that this is going on, and has been going on for. This is not new. It's been going on for a while. So I understand if this is too much for you for midday in your time zone, but I do think we should talk about it. And like I said, I went back and forth whether I wanted to speak on it because I'm not an Indigenous woman, but I don't think that matters. I think what matters is getting that information out to everybody and what we could possibly do about it. How can you possibly help? If you look in the description of this live, there's all kinds of organizations you can check out, you can go to, you can donate, you can read about. It has all the information there. And so a few facts, which are not happy facts. 4 out of 5 Native women experience some form of violence in their lifetime. That's higher than non-Native American women. Native women face murder rates more than 10 times other races of women. And homicide is the 3rd leading cause of death among Native girls and women. Now, I know it's heavy, y'all. I know it is. But I just think that it's something I wanted to speak on. I just think it's something that has to be talked about because no one's talking about it. There are if you want to know more, I'm not an expert at it, but if you want to know more, there are several documentaries on YouTube, on all the streaming services have very good documentaries that can give you all the facts, everything about it. And it is sad. It is sad. And I didn't want to, that's why I debated. whether or not I wanted to speak on it, but I think it's something that needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about. And I just, so Native American women are twice as likely to experience violence in their life. Hello, Angela. And that's there's a myriad of reasons that happens. We could go into it, but I don't think that's a good enough reason for these women and girls to go missing. It doesn't justify. There's no, I just think, why is it not addressed? And I know that there's different laws on reservations as there is in the community that the reservation's in. So there's two law enforcements. There's the reservation law and then there's the city law. But the federal government can actually, like the FBI, can actually get involved in these cases because they're allowed to. And I gotta have the numbers here. Yeah, 10,000 cases from Indian country for prosecution between 2005 and 2009. 70% of those were not investigated, not prosecuted by the federal government. That's a crime. That's why. A tribal law, yes, Tracy, thank you. It is a lack of, it's 100%, Angela, it's a lack of coverage. And also, hi Bree, thank you for popping in. Also, a lot of times when women go missing, they're not reported as being Native American. They're reported as being white or Hispanic, or that skews the numbers. Or they're like, well, they're grown, they'll be back. If you are a family member of the person missing, you don't want to hear someone tell you, well, they're grown, they'll be back. Or, it's a lifestyle choice. So it's like, no. That's not acceptable, I don't think. Oh, I know it's not acceptable.
So I don't know if you're going to have answers to any questions that I ask or not. But like the laws within the reservations, are they more apt of, we're just going to handle this ourselves and not involve anybody outside of it? And do the members of the community report this stuff?
Yes, the members of the communities do report it to both agencies. And it's just that there's a lack of communication between the two forces. So it goes reported in tribal law, and then in the greater community, it's reported, but the two don't work together. And a lot of times they're not on their home, they're not on their home turf when they go missing. So that has to be reported to the police. The outside, not tribal police, but the law outside, the general population police. And they're like, okay, well, they're grown. They have a history of XYZ. They have an extra. To me, that's not good enough. Why do they? And it's not just like, it's just a random number. It's a large number of Indigenous women missing. A lot of it does come from that, Sandy. Again, because that people don't feel like they need to rush out and go look for them. But young 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls are going missing. And regardless if if they live within poverty, there's no excuse for them not putting out massive Amber Alerts, massive coverage of a 14-year-old girl missing. Is it because I don't know, it's because she's Indigenous, or they think, well, that's just the way it is, she'll be back, she's a runaway. Well, see, like Bree says, so Bree, that's amazing. She used to work for the sheriff departments that included tribal lands. We had a great cooperation with tribal police and FBI. Both were in California. And I think it depends where you also live. South Dakota, for instance, has twice as many is twice as many women missing, indigenous women missing, as just regular other race women and girls. Let's not forget to go. If you're 16, you're a child. I don't care who says what. As far as I'm concerned, you're a kid. And it's not because I'm old. It's because 16-year-old is a kid. And these younger, and it's not even just women, people, indigenous people are missing. Children are missing. They're just vanishing. I mean, sure, some of it may be marital disputes or, maybe child custody disputes, but a lot of them aren't. So I just think it's something that if we talk about it here and you tell your friends and they tell their friends, it starts to become a thing, because it's just kept so quiet. And they're like Angela said, there's hardly any coverage on it. And I just think I don't understand why. I mean, I'm hoping maybe someone can tell me. I don't understand why. There's no coverage on it. It's just like, oh, well, it's like, they're people. How are you like not rushing out there when a 14-year-old girl goes missing? I don't know the reasons why they're not. I just think that it's something that's not talked about. And I don't understand why.
Do you know statistics or anything on the amount that have been found and whether they've been found alive or they've found them passed away, or maybe some form of human trafficking?
That's a lot of it is that. And here's what I learned is that a criminal can go, and I mean like criminal like gangs and stuff, cannot be stopped from going on tribal land. I don't know why. I don't understand that. I have no idea why. But so they can just, whether they're native or not, they could just walk on and do whatever. So I don't know the recovery rate of hi Val, of the missing women and girls. I don't know the rate. But if it's such a big thing that they're not being found, like they're not like, well, 10 went missing and 5 were found. You'd be lucky to find 1 out of 10, maybe. And again, this includes girls and children, not just female children, boys, girls, all of them. And I just don't understand. I want it to make sense to me why it's not headline news. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is it not like missing? Oh, I mean, there may be Amber Alerts. I don't know. I don't live there. I'm just reading what I've read and all the websites that I've on the information that I've put in the description of this video. There seems to be like they're desperate for help. Like, just somebody help us. That's kind of what I'm getting, by visiting all these websites and donating. And I just feel like and I know so I don't know. I don't know what the recovery rate is, but it doesn't sound very positive at all.
So a very good thing to do is then to look into any of the documentaries that you've listed.
Yeah. Well, those are all websites that I've listed and Instagram accounts I've listed that are genuine MMIW organizations. But if you go anywhere, you just type in MMIW into YouTube even, you will find several documentaries and the people who these family members are, and the people in the communities, in these Native American communities, are just like, what is going on? I mean, that's exactly what the reaction is. It's like, I don't know, like I what is happening here? And that's what's quite frightening to me. It's like, well, I didn't know about it till about a couple of years ago. Honestly, I'd never heard of it. And then I started reading into it. I didn't realize that, Bree. Amber Alerts are reserved for known suspects like parental abductions. Oh, I thought it was like for any missing child. I was wrong. Maybe it should be for any missing child. Um, Angela says, like, what happened with Gabby Petito? A number of Indigenous women disappeared at the same time. Oh, yes, that is so true. No one knows their names. No one knows anything about them. Yeah, Sandy, I'd never heard of it, and this is why I wanted to bring it up today, because I wanted to tell people that I didn't know about it until I think it just happened on it, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy. Why is this happening? And you see these documentaries, and it's just so these people just don't know what's happening to these young girls and women. It's not being tracked because they largely don't live on reservations. They live in urban. A lot of times, yes, and a lot of times they're not tracked because perhaps they don't have a residence. They live, maybe a somewhat homeless lifestyle, or they not it's a lifestyle, but they live homeless, or they have issues, or there's mental health issues, and no one's like, they're just like, oh, that's just so and so. They're and also a lot of times it's not being tracked because they don't get the race of the person correct. There's like a brown person, Hispanic, and they're like, no, that's a different thing, or white. So I mean, and so they actually think the numbers are actually more than they are, because they're not being written down correctly, or they're not being reported, or they're being reported, they're just not being, maybe the information's not being shared with other states, with other agencies. And right, yeah, they typically don't track by, yeah, exactly, that's exactly what, yeah, they don't get tracked by their ethnicity. So then, but it just, you see these, you see these websites, and they're like, it's almost like a big why, big, it's like, why is this happening? Why is no one doing anything? How do we get attention? And I think talking about it is unpleasant as of a subject as it is. No one wants to talk about that, but we have to make it something everybody's talking about. Everybody's telling everybody else. Everybody's going to these websites. Everybody's, sharing information, because that's the only way this is going to get the kind of news or the kind of coverage it deserves. Oh, Amber, what'd you say? Amber, Bree, what'd you say? We complained about RE Amber Alerts when they first started. They had enough info that they could save polycloth. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And I know it's, hard. It's not that it's hard. I don't, and each state is, I think each state is different. I'm sure they all have Amber Alerts, but, oh, Lord.
So do the tribal, I don't know how it's run. I honestly don't. This is why I'm being very quiet, because I don't know anything.
Yeah, poor
I
Daniel was
don't.
like,
So I have no room to speak about anything. I'm just asking curious questions. So do the tribal councils or the tribal whatever it is for those reservations, do they like reach out and hold news conversation or news things, or
yeah.
are they trying
Sometimes they do. Sometimes you'll see that they'll have a news coverage, a conference on it. They'll talk, but a lot of times it's the family has to, and you're asking people who don't have a lot of money to hire a private investigator. I mean, how are they going to afford that? How are they going to afford to let me post flyers everywhere? Let me, they're doing their part, but there's, you get to a wall and you stop and you're like, okay, so what now? What are you doing? Like, well, this person is an adult, and they're like, well, yeah, but this person never goes missing like this. This is, or this is a 16-year-old girl. Well, maybe she ran off with her boyfriend, or maybe she just ran off, or ran away and wanted to, well, maybe she did. Maybe that's exactly what happened. But surely, even once that person leaves where they live on the reservation, they go into urban areas, there must be CCTV. You must be able to find their steps as to where they're going, where they've been. There's there's cell phone. These people have cell phones. A lot of them have cell phones. Why are you tracking those? I mean, I know it's hard with Apple, but because they won't give you the information. But if you have like a Find My Phone or whatever, you can track people. It's to the last point that that phone pinged off of something, or the last something. And I think what I'm saying is that these parents and these family members, they just can't do it alone. They can't. You know, you just, like it with anybody. You get to a certain point, you're like, okay, now what are y'all going to do? You know, what are police going to do? Whether it's the tribal law, whether it's the federal FBI, whether it's the city police, who's doing what? And I think that's what my question is. And I know nobody here can answer it.
So are there, like within reservations, are there like several women missing from the same reservations, or is it like a group thing, or are these individuals just all over the different places?
They're individual, all of the above.
Okay.
So a lot of them maybe don't necessarily live there. They come back to visit, and their family members haven't seen them in a while, and they're like, well, you know, I usually talk to this person every day or every other day, and now all of a sudden they're gone. I have no way to trace them. They're not answering their phone. It happens a lot. And so there's different, like, and for whatever reason, it happens a lot in Canada too. Obviously, with the whole, it's a very big issue in Canada as well. I don't know, you know, I mean, there's got to be some kind of way to bridge the two, bridge tribal law, tribal police, tribal, the way they run their affairs, and the local police, because the local police are going to have people on the ground at the time. You can call the FBI in or the federal government in, but how long is that going to take? And are they going to come? And are they going to deal with it? Like, that's just one person. Do they cross state lines? None of my business. You know, it's that, and you have to be able to bridge those gaps so it goes from here to here to here, instead of being, well, this person has some information and this person has some information, and it's like, it can't be that way. I don't know how to fix that. I mean, I don't live there. I don't know how to fix it. Yeah, she said LaDonna said up to 78% of Native Americans live off the reservation in poor urban communities, areas. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like, well, are we going to put, it costs money to invest. It costs money to carry out an investigation. And if you've got 5 or 6 people from maybe, you know, remember, this is a large area. Let's just say South Dakota, because that's where a lot of them go missing from. And they go missing all over the United States, don't get me wrong, but there's a high proportion of numbers in South Dakota of missing Indigenous women. And, you know, it's such a big area that to investigate that, to put the people to work at that costs money. And my thing is, are they trying not to spend that money? Do they not have the money? Is this where they need to ask for help, or ask for, you know, a larger agency to step in? Maybe that's the answer. I don't have the answer, and I wish I did, because this is just, and here's my thing. I know, you know, some of them end up in, some Indigenous people end up in, you know, outside where they were brought up on the reservation. They live perhaps maybe in poor communities. I grew up in a poor community. Do you know what I mean? That shouldn't, and I feel like that shouldn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a missing person. And a lot of the children will go off, you know, outside their area, the reservation, and go and see friends outside. They go missing, and it's like, what's happening here? Hi, Chicago lady. Hi, Jeannie. So I just think it's like, sometimes I feel like talking something out will help, because you ask Daniel, it gets me every time I talk about it with him. It gets me. I get I'm surprised I'm staying as calm as I am, because I get very passionate about it because I just don't understand why. I just don't understand why.
Well, and talking about
And
it brings light to other people like me. I've never watched a documentary on it and stuff, but now I'm interested to go watch something and see what it's all about because you just don't know about things when you're living your own little life. Things
right,
happen
and
and
that's
you don't hear about it, especially if they don't talk about it a lot. But like if they're living off of the reservation in urban areas, then that goes to the local police. I mean,
exactly.
and so they're going to be like, well, we have 500 missing children reports.
Mhm.
So they're not going to look at it any different or anything special compared to any of the other
Another
reports I have.
child.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think, especially in Canada, they're now um, really trying to change this around, trying to get. I'm not saying they're perfect. No one is. That's a process to get to where you got to get. But a lot of things they're doing is acknowledging Indigenous people's inherent right to their culture. So, especially, I mean, I know there was a big issue with it at these schools in Canada where the Indigenous people who were forced to go to these schools, two, went to these schools, three, were treated horribly at these schools based on their race, which is appalling. I mean, and I don't know how long these schools were open till. I don't think they were closed in the 50s, y'all. They were still running, I think, into the 90s. I want to say. Check me if I'm wrong, but I think and that's a long time. I mean, even maybe the 2000s. I'm not sure. But so what now Canada's trying to do is recognize Indigenous languages as official languages. So maybe, which helps them with, like what LaDonna said, being able to properly record their ethnicity when they do go missing. So you know who it is. So it's just, I want to have an answer. When I do. And if anybody has an answer, please contact one of these organizations that is in the description of this live and let them know. So Angela says it appeals to predators just like so many serial killers, Robert Pickton, in the past. If they see a gap in awareness on behalf of law enforcement, it becomes their hunt. Yeah, people of color, sex workers, women, if they see an opportunity to swoop in and they know no one's going to either care or worry about it, or that's exactly 100% true. And also making the areas safer, which again is part of the local government's job. Do you know what I mean? It is. It honestly is. Why are you making, or why? I know it costs a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But, what are your taxes paid for? I mean, it's kind of how I feel. What do I pay my taxes for? It's that kind of thing. It's just, and there's also, they make funds available to support the restoration of Indigenous cultures. Because if you feel, and people say, well, what happened to them happened a long time ago. There's a thing called biological trauma that is transferred biologically. That's a real thing. So you can't say, or I can't say, or none of us can say, well, you shouldn't feel that way, because if you're told let's say you're a young Indigenous person and your parents when they were young, were told all their lives that, well, you have to assimilate, you have to be, part of what? This is, I'm from here. I was here first. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're told that you're not worthy all your life, or that your culture isn't important, how are you going to feel about yourself? You're going to try to, like, either leave or escape, or maybe make bad choices because you want to get out. Instead of celebrating what you are, you're trying to escape it because everybody's telling you it's not okay. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why these things like this, like educate the general public, and those within social services about, you know, the indigenous people's languages, indigenous people's culture, because if you don't know how to deal with somebody, then you can't, I mean, or you don't understand, I mean, you can help somebody without understanding them, but you can offer them more help if you understand more about them and respect their culture. And you should do that anyway. You, just as a human being, you should respect other people's cultures. You know, it's just what you should do. You don't have to understand it, but you should respect it. So that's what's happening here. I'm sorry, happening in Canada, and also to support the increase of representation of Indigenous people in the media. All these things, when someone sees themselves, um, you know, if someone sees themselves as not worthy, that, how do you expect them to, you know, to get on with their lives and be, you know, be better, and or I just, and there's this amazing Native American model that that Quanah Rose, and she's really representing. And y'all should go follow Instagram. She's amazing. So you should follow her because she's one of a great representation for Native uh, American, and just amazing.
Do we have mods in the chat?
I've got it. Got it. Okay. So anyway, I got it. So I just think that understanding that their culture is as important as anyone else's. How, if someone tells you all your life you're not, this is all blah blah blah, you're not good, you should be this way. Well, you know damn well that you should be proud of who you are. And I think Canada acknowledging Indigenous people's languages, culture, life, the way they live, is going to help people respect them. And it does, and that's great, but you should respect people anyway. You should respect them and treat them like like they should be. It shouldn't be a question of, well, we'd look for them, they're Indigenous. It's like, what? And I don't know. That's how I feel when I read stuff and see stuff. That's how I process it in my head. I'm like, why are you not respecting these people and looking for these women and these girls? And even when they do, unfortunately, find a woman who didn't make it, there's no big investigation of what happened to her. How did she end up this way? Why is it, where's the investigation? Why are we finding the person who did it or people who did this? So, I just think that it's something that governments and even local governments have to get on board with.
Well, and LaDonna was saying Omaha is a huge hotbed for sex trafficking. So
Yep.
there's a lot of that goes on that we don't realize is going on.
Oh,
and those people
100%.
Will go after those they feel are not going to be investigated, or that nobody's going to care what happened to them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And they tend to target younger children up to mid-20s for that. And then unfortunately that's a whole, we just don't really know about it. That's another thing we don't care a whole lot about.
Again, I mean, and that's a whole nother situation where these people can come in and almost like hawks prey on these people. I mean, I don't want to give hawks a bad name, but I'm saying that they swoop down and get them. And that's what I'm saying, that if you make everybody realize that their lives are just as important as anybody else's life, it doesn't matter what their race is. Unfortunately, it appears it does in the cases of MMIW. And it's just police departments are too busy being trained to not care for the poor. Well, that's true. Or perhaps the mentally ill. Not given training to deal with somebody. They're just like, right, lock them up, take them. Because they're, a little bit, different or something's going on with them and they're acting out because they're troubled. There's no training for that. And it's sad. The problems of the world and the environment are so enormous. It's hard not to feel. Girl, when I was researching this, I was like, oh my God. It was a lot. It was a lot to take on. And this is it's a lot to take on, but I think the more people are aware of it and the getting the word out there and questioning everything, we do as a society, and even here in the UK, become complacent. Well, that's okay. That's how it's always been. It's time to no. We're going to challenge everything now. That's how I feel. I know I can't personally go there and challenge everything. Hey, if I could, I would. But I think just bringing awareness to it and talking about it, to me, is important. It's been important for some time to me. It sometimes, I'll even tear up talking to Daniel about it. I'm just like, he's like, girl, I'm like, I know, but I just read this story, or oh my God, yeah. And and like I said, he didn't know. I didn't know a couple of years ago what it was. I didn't know what was going on. And then when you start to look into it, and I'm not saying go and watch these documentaries and depress yourself. I'm not saying it. What I'm saying is to make yourself aware. If you can do something, if you can, great. Or if you can just spread the word, go to the website, read about it. I don't know if you live in areas that have reservations, or if they need volunteers to help with looking and searching. That's what I'm saying. That it's just if everybody knows about it. And like I said, Daniel didn't know. I didn't know prior to a couple of years ago. And it's okay not knowing, but now you know. Now this is kind of what I want to.
Each of us has specific things that we latch on to that touch our souls. And that's right. One of the things for you. And here's the thing, you can become quite overwhelmed these days. You turn on the news and there are just so many things going on. But if all you do is watch a document on this because you heard us talking and it informs you a little bit, and you hit a like button that helps share this more or gets it more up in the algorithms so more people see it, you've done something. You've helped something. Right. You don't have to cure the world. You can do one little thing, one itty bitty thing. It's that ripple effect that I talked about before.
Right. LaDonna says, I don't think that it's a lack of caring or training. It's inability to track this stuff. These agency systems do not interact. Correct. And they're actually, I think Canada's now building, or I think both the United States and Canada are building a database of MMIW. So missing and murdered Indigenous women. They're making a database, and that's the great thing, because then that database can be shared from state to state. And then if, let's say, the person just happened to leave, then they can find that person if they share the data within the states and even between the two borders, because there's, that's very close. Y'all right up to each other, Canada and the United States. So it's important to share that data, but it's also getting that data right to start with, which is including the correct ethnicity of the person. And, I think it has to. So now they are creating databases, which is good. It's a step in the right direction, but it took long enough. No, just kidding. It did. No, I feel like it did. It took I've been reading about this for years. I'm like, thank you for making a database. They're just starting it, but I just want it to be out there. Yes, it should be with any ethnicity, 100%, because you put the wrong ethnicity or you put the wrong information, and that person is not going to be found. You didn't put the wrong name. What are their aliases? What do they go by? What that all has to be put into this database, and I'm sure that's a large undertaking. I'm under no illusion that's a small thing to do. I'm sure it's a huge thing, and then gathering all the information from the different agencies.
Yeah, and like LaDonna said, red tape. Red tape.
Yeah, no, yeah, she's correct, 100%. Lenora.
Red
Kathy
tape.
Weissman says, if you don't want to watch documentaries, which most are really informative, you can watch well, the Longmire series. I don't know what that is, but I'll take your recommendation. I'll look it up, Kathy. I don't know what it is, but yeah, and it's just, and I know it seems kind of a heavy topic for a Thursday afternoon, but I just wanted it's really close to my heart, and I can't explain why. I think what it is that I think my shock was I can't believe this is happening, which I say about most things when I open the paper. you know it's I was my shock, and then I read about it, and I don't inundate myself with this every day, but it's there every day. It's not going away, and I just wanted to bring it to the forefront. And I really struggled with whether I was going to talk about this or not. Not only that, it is a kind of a subject that people want to turn away from. I go, oh well, that's a little, lot. That's a lot. Oh, yeah, it is a lot, and I know I'm stuttering, but it's just I get so passionate about it, and I can't even explain why. I just think that it's not right. I think that more can be done. I think that sharing information is so useful. Me talking with you guys about it sometimes if you share with other people, then other people you can talk about it with others. We're talking about it in the chat, and I talk about it with Daniel, and it just doesn't make me feel better, but I feel like with the more people who know, that's just who I am. That's what I'm like.
You're trying to do the ripple.
I am trying to be the ripple, even if it's a tiny ripple, y'all. I just wanted everybody to talk about it, And LaDonna says, it's huge. I've done systems for government agencies. Oh, I bet that's what I said. I bet this undertaking to get the information from this and this and this and then to put it all in one system is, it will get done because they're working on it, and it will be a long process. And I'm glad it's happening. And I just think when I first heard about it, I was shocked. And so there is where is it? Oh, I had it written down. So, here we go. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. I have my notes. Hang on. Because it was so much information, I had to get all the information. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like shuffling papers like I'm about to get beach. So in U.S. legislation, there's something called Savannah's Act, which was introduced by Congress in 2017, but later reintroduced in 2019. The purpose of Savannah's Act is to increase the cooperation and coordinate. Y'all can't speak. I'm so impassioned by the cooperation and the coordination between federal, state, tribal, and local law enforcement agencies. So that's that's very good, and it has been one of the major barriers. As this has been a major barrier, trying to develop an accurate database. The bill would implement training for tribal agencies and the Attorney General, as well as improve the access to databases, including national missing and unidentified persons. In addition, data collection will be increased so that statistics more accurately represent missing and murdered Indigenous women. The bill was passed into Congress in September 2020. and was later signed off by the president a month later. So that's good. I mean, there's movement.
Do
And
you
I was just
know? I don't know if you would know or not if there's any. So when you donate to the MMIW, is it
MMIW. Yeah.
Okay, what that money goes for?
No, it's so I donated, and they can use it for searching, uh, getting more law enforcement in their areas, getting more help. Maybe it'll go to a family to actually hire a private investigator. Whatever they need that money for, they will use it towards finding these women or helping their agencies get the right equipment to find these people. And that's basically what it goes for. Or the families who are also, it's a lot. Sometimes the people who go missing were the breadwinners. They're the only people bringing money home. And now these, you maybe have young children home who don't have their, or an elderly mother who doesn't have her daughter who was caring for her. It goes for stuff like that. So Kathy said there is an artist on Facebook who made a quote which depicted what is happening with missing Indigenous women, and Facebook pulled it off the platform. Well, that's no shocker there with old FB. It didn't, I'm not surprised. But there are a lot of different groups on Instagram you can follow. And like I said, in the description of this video, I have links to those. I have links to the 2 different organizations that you can go. And it's not even about donating. It's about just reading up on it and, getting informing yourself of what is actually happening out there. And that
Knowledge is
needs to just, it is. And like I said, it's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I just think that, I wish I had a heck of a lot more information on it. I have what everybody else has, what you can go read on their websites. That I wish I could, well, here's a way to solve it. And I'm not saying that I'm just in, it's just about the MMIW. There's several other people who go missing and people don't look for, and they're usually in a marginalized group like Black trans women, or sex workers that people are like, well, they're a sex worker. Because someone does something or is part of a group does not give someone the right to abuse them or murder them or take them away. It doesn't. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And maybe I always want, and I try to always be optimistic. I'm always the glass is half full. But sometimes, I'm just like, I need the whole glass to be full, please. The whole thing. Fill it all up. So I know, guys. I don't know. I just hope this wasn't too heavy for your afternoon. I think it was informative. I think more people should know about it. That's why I did it. I think that you sharing, even if you share an Instagram page, if you can't donate and you share the Instagram page or the website with the websites with other people, then more people get to know about it. And that's the great thing about what we like to talk about is, we're not experts. I'm not an expert at this. I am not an Indigenous woman, but I think the more people who talk about it, whether they're Indigenous people or not, the better. The better. Let's get everybody talking about it. Let's get everybody stomping, stomping, write to your senator, write to your congressman, helping this community is, in any marginalized community, I shouldn't even have to say the word marginalized community. That's what pisses me off. I'm sorry. Excuse my language. But that there's any marginalized community kind of winds me up by saying having to say that word with a group of people just really winds me up. I shouldn't have to say that. Oh, Deb, I'm glad I didn't. Thank you for this. Yeah. Deb Haaland, the Secretary of Interior, is slowly working on the problems of the Indigenous. Well, it does. It's going to take time. This is not a problem that's going to be solved overnight. We know this. and I think I was so shocked at how long it took, how long it's taking, because it's not a new problem, and we all know this, or we may not know this. We may not even realize it. Some people don't even realize it. It's been a problem for a very long time, since the beginning, pretty much, you know, since the beginning. So I'm just like glad I didn't, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I shared it with you guys. I'm glad you guys were here for this chat. I appreciate it. Any other questions, Daniel?
No, I was just going to say that's what Double D Life Chat is all about.
Yeah.
We pick the topics that we're interested in and that might be informative or funny or sometimes not so funny, sometimes serious, and it's just something we want to talk about. That's why we started this, to just talk about life and to have a place to chat about things and just whatever we're feeling. You never know what we're going to talk about here, from Bigfoot to gender to indigenous women to whatever. Knowledge is power.
And to be honest, I had a whole different chat ready for this today. I had a completely different, it was so not related to this at all. And I just messaged Daniel. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it today. Today I'm going to rip the band and do it. I'm going to talk about it today. Am I glad I live in the UK rather than the US? At certain times, yes. I do miss things like my family, my friends, Little Debbie's. I do miss Little Debbie's, y'all. But I think I like the fact that I have health care. And that I do pay for. Listen, I get twisted. It's not free. I pay my taxes, and then therefore I get health care. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate the fact that there's lack of gun crime here. I appreciate that. And look, I'm from a place that, it does have firearms. I've just gotten so used to living here that it almost seems foreign to me now. Yeah. UFOs, maybe next time, Jan, maybe next time.
We talked about UFOs.
Yeah, we did a little bit with the Bigfoot chat, which is now available, which is now back on my channel. They unprivatized it. They put it on private. And I thought, oh my God, what did I say? But it was a bug in the system, and now it's back. So if you want to go see the Bigfoot chat, it's now up on. Yeah, there's so many problems in there. You know what? There's problems here, y'all. I'm not going to be like, well, the UK is like, utopia. It is not. It is run by a man with bad hair. So let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. I think we did some scary stories, Sandy, but I think we'll save the good ones for Halloween. Yeah, and there's problems in every country. Any big, large, rich country is going to have a myriad of problems that we can't, that they're not going to be, solved overnight. This is why talking about them and getting people almost like to action, and to go do what you can do. That's what makes change. If no one talks about it, no one knows, and you can't make change. So, yeah, there are a lot of people in medical debt. Yeah, it's just, it's a very touchy subject in the U.S. about that's a whole different chat. We'll save that for another.
I was getting ready to say, whoa, Dolores, whoa. We're about done here. Let's not get off on another topic.
Oh, let's not get into sorry, guys. Anyway, all right, guys. Thanks so much for coming to my channel. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being in the chat. This is, you guys, this is always a safe space for you. Whatever you want to talk about, there's no judgment here. And I will see you next week. It'll be on Daniel's channel, y'all.
It will be.
And we
And
have
we'll
no
find
idea
out
what
what I'm
we're
going to talk about next week. Once
All
again,
right, guys.
somebody's prepared and somebody's not.
I got my notes, babe. But that's what makes it fun. All right, guys.
Thank you
Thanks
so much for coming in. Thank you
I
all very
appreciate it.
much. Thank you to the lurkers and to all the
Yes,
people in the
thank you.
chat. We appreciate it. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, though. We need those thumbs so we can grow the Double D live chat.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Y'all take care. Bye.
Bye.